while the rest of the internet was busy hating on WW2, we were busy waiting on the Game of Thrones Season 7 finale. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this season has flown by exceedingly fast. There's only one more episode left this season, and it is on Sunday, and this fan theory might even be tying into it. It seems that all of the elements are there. The perfect storm, the Hurricane Harvey of Westeros, is coming to fruition in the next episode. I'm talking, no, let's screw the White Walkers, Night King, Wall, dragons, horns, pirate kings, Cersei. Let's get rid of all of that. None of that matters because the elements are in play for the most hypest thing in Game of Thrones history. I'm talking about the big fight this weekend. No, it is not McGregor Mayweather going head to head. This is the Battle of Champions. I am talking about CleganeBowl. Get hype! If you've been a big fan of Game of Thrones, especially since the beginning, and even in the book, A Song of Ice and Fire, all of the books that are in that series, there's been a fan theory that's gained a lot of momentum over the past few years, and especially with the last season in which we had the court case going on. What this fan theory is the fan theory of CleganeBowl. Essentially, a fight to the death between the Clegane brothers, Sir Gregor and Sandor Clegane. I'm talking the Mountain versus the Hound, Hound versus the Mountain in a fight to the death. This is the most amazing thing that could happen, and we were hyped for it for so long. We've been hyped for this from the beginning of the series, and we saw a little bit of it in Season 1. There was the jousting duel before Robert Baratheon, in which case the Mountain lost his shit and tried to kill Sir Loras Tyrell. And then the Hound was like, no you don't, and he pulled out his own sword, and the two brothers began fighting, and Robert was sitting in his chair just like, oh my god, this is happening! The hypest moment was happening in Season 1, and that was the closest we ever got to seeing the two brothers fight, and they have the biggest reason in the entirety of Westeros to kill each other. If you don't know the Hound's backstory, the reason why his face, as Tormund said, was kissed by fire in the last episode was because his brother, the Mountain, simply shoved his face into the fire because the Hound was busy playing with one of his toys. Essentially, he disfigured his brother for life for the pettiest of reasons. And this caused such great resentment between the two that they were willing to even fight to the death in front of the king before the king put an end to that fight and said, all right, let him go, because you don't want to get in the Mountain's way at all in Game of Thrones, because he'll crush your skull like Oberyn Martell. But since then, the two brothers have been mostly separated by miles apart. Season 2, we saw the Mountain over in Harrenhal while the Hound was busy in King's Landing. Essentially, up until the moment he actually revoked his Kingsguard vows and said, fuck the king. Yeah, he said that directly to Joffrey, which was pretty badass. It caused a sort of power vacuum amongst the Kingsguard and allowed the Mountain to rise up into that position as the series later progressed, and even Queensguard later on in the series. Now, the Mountain and Hound have been separated by thousands of miles at this point, and later on the Hound was actually fighting Brienne and sort of died off in the series, and we saw the Mountain get killed, air quotes here, by Oberyn Martell and poisoned and reanimated as a corpse, now being the undead Mountain Sir Gregor Clegane, or Sir Robert Strong. They actually just ditched that completely randomly in the series. It's never explained. He gets referred to as Sir Gregor by Cersei, and then Qyburn introduces him as Robert Strong. It's the same guy, and I don't even know why they used the alias in the show, but in the books, it's alluded to that they might be They're alluded to being the same person, but it's never directly described, but they essentially are. So what was happening in the books was the trial of Cersei Lannister was to go forth, and eventually, and what people were thinking is because it didn't actually happen yet, at least even in the books at this point, was that as this quote-unquote trial was to progress, there would be a fight by combat, trial by combat, in which case Cersei would pick the Mountain, and the Faith Militant and High Sparrow, essentially the Faith of Westeros, would pick their champion, and their champion would be the resurrected Hound. Not resurrected, but the Hound emerged later on in the story. It was a mysterious figure. Eventually it turned out, according to the show, to actually be the Hound, as we've seen in the show that the Hound came back and was sort of saved by the priests, and that he would act on behalf of the Faith in this trial by combat CleganeBowl. Unfortunately, King Tommen, before his death, decreed that trials by combat were outlawed in Westeros, which killed the hype for CleganeBowl. And since then, the two brothers have been separated by even more thousands of miles, with the Hound going northbound and even beyond the Wall in the latest episode, and the Mountain residing at King's Landing. The preview for the next episode shows exactly what we're dealing with. What we will be dealing with is the emergence of Dany and Jon bringing and presenting the White to Cersei Lannister. Amongst the group, we can know for certain that the Mountain will be Cersei's personal bodyguard. Not personal like Jaime is with his dick, but personal in the manner if she doesn't want Dany and Jon to be there, he'll crush their skulls. However, we also know the Hound recently sided with Jon Snow and the Brotherhood Without Banners. He followed them up beyond the Wall, and he seemingly left on a boat in the latest episode. So what I'm thinking is this creates the perfect storm where the Hound accompanies Dany and Jon on this mission to discuss an armistice peace treaty between Cersei and Dany and Jon's forces, respectively. And this puts in the same proximity, 1, the Hound, and 2, the Mountain. And you know, Cersei ain't gonna let shit slide. She's gonna try something. And this could be where she tries it. If she tries to pull the Mountain and sick him onto any of the protagonist characters, then I think the Hound will interject and we will get our CleganeBowl. This could be the most amazing episode of Game of Thrones we've ever seen, because these two brothers have been destined to fight. They've been set on a collision course since day one, and it's never really come to fruition until potentially now. We have the makings of it. We have the makings for this storm surge to happen. So I think in the next episode, we will get CleganeBowl as our season finale, low scale, high stakes battle. And who do I think will win? I think the Mountain has been going unchallenged for so long that he's actually way too overpowered, and I think he will be nerfed, as in murdered, in that episode. If it doesn't happen then, it will happen probably shortly after that in the next season, because it probably is by far the biggest fight one-on-one that could happen in Westeros right now or at any time in the series. It honestly has been hyped up for so long. I hope it does go down this weekend. If it doesn't, we can assume that it will go down soon. Anyway, I'm just saying, if I was a forecaster, the elements are all there and they're swirling around. This could happen. I'm saying it's in your favor to get the hype ready for CleganeBowl this Sunday. Anyway, I hope you found this enjoyable and informative. If you're new around here, consider subscribing. It really helps out. And I will see you guys in the next Game of Thrones video.